Good morning and welcome to Essential Ingredients. I'm your host, Justine Reichman. Today, I want to welcome not only our guest, Xeba, who is the founder of Preme Foods, but those listening and tuning in, our loyal listeners and our loyal viewers, because without you, we wouldn't have a community. So we're here today to talk to Xeba to learn more about Preme Foods. I'm sure those of you out there, there's some of you who must have gut issues. I know I do, so you're not going to want to miss this episode. So Xeba, welcome. Thank you again for joining us. I'd love for you just to talk a little bit about yourself and give us the highlight, the sort of the top line on what Preme Foods is, so that when people tune in, they know what they're listening to, and then we can dive in deeper.
Thank you for having me, Justine. I'm so excited to be here and to talk with your audience. So I struggled lifelong with gut illness. I was in and out of the hospital as a baby. My parents joked that I would only go to the bathroom, number 2 once a week. So I've been chronically constipated my whole life. And it wasn't until I had kind of a, dark night of the soul where I kind of realized I couldn't keep going on. I had cut out gluten. I had done all the things, cut out dairy, and I was still bloating all of the time. And so I had the good fortune of getting to work with a functional medicine doctor who is knowledgeable in traditional Chinese medicine as well. And she put her own Hashimoto's into remission and deals with IBS. So she really taught me a lot about the difference between prebiotic fiber and probiotics, which I had no idea there was even a difference. And I started to see a lot of improvement versus all the doctors, all the specialists I had been to in the medical, field. And it was so shocking to me that something so simple as your diet could shift, diet and herbs and the right supplements could shift your overall health and well-being down to the way you sleep, the way you feel, everything. So I lived in LA at the time. I would go to Erewhon all the time, and I just couldn't find anything that fit the bill of my strict diet that I was on at the time. I was on a low FODMAP diet. I had been diagnosed with SIBO, H. pylori, toxic black mold, parasites, you name it. It was the universe was you're going to have it so that you know about gut illness. And so I realized a lot about anti-inflammatory foods, the difference between sourcing organic versus non-organic, and just how all of that can play a role in if our gut is thriving or if our gut is having a harder time processing foods. So I wanted to create just a on-the-go option for people to have functional medicine doctor prescribed prebiotic fibers that you just do not see in the snack aisle. Every prebiotic fiber snack drink out there uses the 3 same types of fiber. It's inulin, chicory root, or artichoke, Jerusalem artichoke. And these are all irritating to people with IBS. So I wanted to create a prebiotic fiber option for people that have sensitive stomachs. So we did. Yeah.
First of all, I totally relate. I mean, not in the same way. I wasn't going to the hospital, but when I was a little girl, I'd get nauseous 20 minutes after I ate. All the time. And I'd eat, and then I'd be hungry again, and then I'd eat. So my body was all about protein or vegetables, protein or vegetables, protein or vegetables. And so that's how I've always eaten. But, as you get older and as you go out and as you live your life, you're oh, I'm going to eat this. Or it's not quite as straightforward as when your mom is making a steak and some broccolini, right? And so as you're talking and you're saying this, I'm I've chronically had stomach issues, bloating, gas, trapped gas.
Yeah.
Trapped gas, so painful.
So painful. You're on your knees. You're wondering why you.
Right? My partner has said to me, do I need to take you to the hospital? I'm no, it will pass. I've had this before. I mean, the fact that I can say it, no, I've had this before, it's a little crazy, right? And you're going to be fine. And it's so interesting. So you lived in LA, because as you're telling the story, I'm oh, she's in Dallas. There's lots of hospitals there with all these knowledgeable people. And then you're wait, I lived in LA. And I'm oh, okay. So she went to the functional doctor.
Doctor is Dr. Juliana King. She's incredible. Shout out to her. But no, I think it's really interesting when doctors can take a more holistic approach and, look at everything, look at your emotional trauma and how that could be playing a role in your nervous system and how that could be impacting your gut brain axis. And just thinking about are you chronically constipated because you don't let your emotions out? Maybe it's beyond your gut microbiome, so I would love to play a role in the nutrition aspect, but I do encourage people with our drinks to sit them sit and sip them ceremoniously, because we all need to slow down. We all have gut issues because we are all stressed. Stress, ruins your your gut barrier, which causes leaky gut. And it's just, there's so many factors. But I love what you were saying about how it's different when you're at home and your mom's cooking for you, and then you go out and you're in the real world and there's all these options and you want to be normal. And that's kind of like what was also the impetus for this idea, was like, one of the biggest issues with having gut illness is you have to restrict so much in your lifetime, and you're constantly like, I can't have that, I need to restrict, you need a special circumstance. And I think what that does to you over time is like actually hurts your gut health, because you're not getting to live like everybody else, you're feeling othered, you are constantly trying to control, micromanage your food, and like that over time can wear on you, and I think create more stress, and I think create more bloating. You can create stress around food, you can get disordered eating, you might not, women need their nutrition, they need their healthy fats, like for our hormones. So I was very much like, how can we create a moment of indulgence for people who don't get to indulge very often and like feel safe doing it?
Well, I mean, what an amazing thing to do for people, because I know, like myself, I'm like, I'm going to have one marshmallow. And then I have the one marshmallow, and I bought the good ones, right? Those dandies instead of the ones with like all the corn syrup and all the other stuff. And I still get an acid feeling, like a feeling on my tongue. And then I'm like nauseous. And I'm like, I had one marshmallow. Like I thought I'd be safe with one marshmallow, right? And so I hear what you're saying, and I love that, because as we change, as stress happens, as weather changes, right, we crave different foods, and not all those foods are actually good for us. And then to go on to something else you said, I remember saying, oh, I'm not going to eat nitrates, nightshades, or gluten, and etc. But then, right, you try to put that back in your diet. That's not a good idea, because now you've kind of screwed with your gut. And I'm not a doctor, but I think that it's harder when you've taken all these things out to learn how to deal with them, at least in my experience.
Well, you're onto something, because the less plant diversity you get, the more your gut microbiome diversity shrinks, and then your ability to digest actually withers. So you're right.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I used to eat like everything from asparagus to Brussels sprouts to broccolini to all these things, and artichokes. And then I read, oh, well, artichokes are high in histamine. I shouldn't have that because I get really congested. And then I was reading another thing. Oh, I shouldn't eat that. That is also high in histamine, tomatoes, and that has too much acid and all these things. So I, like you're saying, I'm ticking these things off, removing them from my diet, and then maybe I shouldn't be. So I don't know the answers, but I do love the idea that you found somebody that was able to walk you through it that also has a background in Chinese medicine, because that philosophy in of itself is different.
Yeah.
Where, certain things require heat, certain things require coolness. My favorite example is for women or girls when they get their period, that they should add more red into their diet, beets and meat and stuff. And like that one, I use that example is because you can see the color in the meat and you can see the color in the beets is red. And then, well, when you're menstruating, you're getting rid of that, right? So it's like you're replenishing it. But I love how you brought all those things together. So I just want to go back to the beginning, not to the beginning, but back a few steps. So you're struggling with these issues. And I guess you had a moment where you figured things out with Dr. Julian. Was that, I don't remember that.
Dr.
Dr.
Juliana. Yeah,
Juliana
no.
King, did you say?
I mean, I went to like the top GI Beverly Hills specialists, and all they would do is like prescribe me an antibiotic or an antidepressant and send me on my way. There was
Right.
no talk about nutrition or diet or whatever. And just, yeah, changing. It was essentially my body was asking for a lifestyle change.
Well,
And
what's interesting that you were just saying is that like doctors chronically get like 3 to 4 hours worth of nutrition training. And I know that there are places that are working to change that. The Rodale Institute is like integrating like a whole educational thing with some universities.
it's beautiful what we're seeing with that. But I mean, some doctors like, why do we have to learn that stuff? We already have to learn all. And I'm just like, it is intrinsic to the way our bodies. And I had no idea. I didn't understand why people went to the grocery store and bought so many different types of plants. I'm like, why not just buy the same? Like, I love to eat the same thing every day. I'm like a little freak. I'll go to the restaurant, just like order the same thing every time. And it's like, we need this plant diversity, but I had no one had ever taught me this. No one talks to you about your gut microbiome. I think it's becoming more and more researched, and we're starting to understand and learn more just in these last 5-10 years.
I would agree completely.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a very big conversation now, and apparently a lot leads to your gut. I don't want to say everything, but I feel like there are conversations, and it seems like they always do lead back to the gut.
I would argue everything. They say we're more bacteria than we are human cell. So you are what you eat is a real concept.
Right, it's
Yeah.
true. So okay, so you finally find this Dr. Juliana in
Yes.
LA,
Yes.
which is amazing. And maybe we can throw her name in show notes just so
She's
people
amazing.
can investigate.
Yeah, she's the doctor on our website too, who like, taught she overlooked everything with the formulas and
Awesome. Okay, so then at what point did you decide I have an idea? I want to create a solution for people like me that are struggling,
everything.
that don't want to be the other person there, or that person that always has an issue when they're eating at the menu, looking at the menu, deciding what can I eat, or being like that Sally in Harry Met Sally.
It was actor experience. Like I was, I was working in TV and film before, and those were long 12-hour days. And I had gotten so sick at that point that I was not working full time. And I was, doing a podcast to try to document my healing journey. Cause, she was sending me to like, different types of practitioners. She was like, you need a Qinei Tsang, which is like a Chinese stomach massage. Like I was going to try all these different things, and I wanted to document it. So I started making podcasts, and it actually did really well in Europe. And I got some clients from it. We were doing some freelance podcasting, and I was actually working with Sophie Jaffe at the time, and she had her own snack brand. And every morning I would wake up and I would make this oatmeal in the morning, and it was oatmeal with my gentle prebiotic fiber that we now have, and collagen, and just trying to get as much nutrition into this soupy oatmeal that I could, because I was waking up nauseous all the time. I had no energy, and like I didn't want to eat anything to begin with. So like getting this into my body, I knew I needed so I could heal. And I would wake up and I'm like, I miss Greek yogurt. Like, that's really what I miss. I miss carving into something nice, creamy. It's luxurious. Like, this oatmeal feels like just not luxurious and fun. So what ended up happening was I actually started with a refrigerated pudding. It was an oat milk collagen pudding. It had 10 grams of protein. It had the prebiotic fiber, and it was made with eggs. And we were selling in a few stores in LA, and that's how the whole concept began. But I was a bit naive about, the grocery store and how all of that works, and like not to give away everyone's secrets, but everyone that has a snack brand in the grocery store, like minimum shelf life is about 8 months, to really do anything. So, I mean, I wanted to keep the concept of like all the healing stuff that we were doing. And besides the oatmeal, I would make these lattes that had all the powders in there. And so I was like, I'm going to make a drink beverage that people can just have, so I can ship it no matter where I am and get it to as many people as possible. And it was crazy because at the time I wasn't the only one having gut illness. It was like a lot of my friends were starting to mention like, oh, I just got diagnosed with IBS, or oh, I just got diagnosed with SIBO. Like the last 5 years, there's been like a rise in the diagnosis of SIBO and things like that. So
I have SIBO, but I was diagnosed like I want to say 12 or 15 years ago, and it goes away and it comes back. Like it has its moments.
acceptable. So what's great about our products, and most fibers on the market are not SIBO friendly, because as someone with SIBO, you bloat easily, and so taking too many added probiotics is going to cause you to bloat, and then also high FODMAPs can cause you to bloat. So our formulas are all science-backed SIBO friendly.
Wow. So when you say science fact, did you do clinical studies?
Not do clinical studies, but we use efficacious doses of science-backed ingredients.
Okay.
So they're trademarked ingredients with 25 to 30 years of clinical studies behind them, and we used all low FODMAP ingredients with it.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay, so but here you are, you're going from producer and podcaster and somebody in the entertainment and media industry, let's just say, to founder of a CPG product, or a medical grade food, if you want to call that. And that's a completely different path, right? So
Well, we would package TV shows and like sell them to Netflix. And I think packaging a TV show and creating a deck is not unlike creating a product, creating a deck that you're going to go pitch. It's similar, but yeah, it's a totally different field and group of culture and people. It's been quite the transition.
See the similarities, right?
Yeah.
You're packaging it, you're creating branding for it, you're
Story
trying to,
behind it. Yeah.
marketing the whole thing. But as you said, getting into grocery stores and understanding how to package things and co-packing and all these things, they're different than doing a television show.
More
So
detail.
I think that was like, I love the idea that like you can draw on the similarities, because I love to lean into what we already know and recognize that, the journey wasn't that big from here to there. And then of course there was a learning curve,
Totally. I
right?
mean, I'm a manifesting generator in human design. They talk about how we pivot quite often and we have to use our previous work as to inform our ongoing work. So I do think of it that way.
Yeah, I do too. And I think it's great to be able to express that so other people can see that, like, maybe it's just about reframing the way that they're looking at it. Maybe it's not such a leap. Maybe their role in what they did was the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really integral
Maybe
to.
teach yourself something. Like we've never had so much access to information and knowledge at this time. Like I developed the pudding on my own. I really had no cooking background, but I spent 8 months in the kitchen, like trialing and erroring. And the reason I thought that that was possible was because I've never told this story to her, but I'm sure she'll find out one day. There's a woman named Erin McKenna, and she has a vegan bakery, and she was the first like vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, whatever, all the things free bakery in New York. And she opened a location in Santa Monica. I believe in like seeing to believe. And if you meet people who've accomplished something, then maybe you can accomplish it too. If you talk to them, you have enough similarities. So I like really was just praying that I would go in there the same time that she was working there. So I went in one morning and she was working and she was the only one there. And we ended up talking and I really asked her, like, how did you develop these products? Like, what did you do? She was like, I worked in fashion. I had no cooking experience, but every night at home, I would do like 3 trials and I would just test out different recipes. And after like 7 months, I was able to open my bakery. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And that's what I did.
I mean, it really, I always believe that like going out in the world, you meet people, and there's so much to be said for that. And it doesn't have to be like the formal networking. It could be going to a coffee house. It could be sitting on a plane, just being out there and learning from people and having those conversations and putting yourself out there is part of the entrepreneurial, I think, journey. I think you gotta have that personality though.
You need that person. That's what a lot of my founder friends say, that like you really need like a certain personality to just go out there and not be afraid of the rejection and just put yourself.
I think this, and we want to make this episode all inclusive. Can you turn around and grab that dog?
Oh, my little puppy.
Oh, yeah, it like ran away.
Hi, I actually got a puppy this year and I was like, wait, this is so hard compared to doing a business.
Oh my God, you're very cute. I have 2 too. Oh,
Thank you.
well.
She's like 6 months now, about 7 months.
Oh, well, I'm sure that we could talk dog food too, but that's a whole nother number.
Our gentle prebiotic is science packed for dogs. So
okay, great. So I can give it to my dogs too.
Yeah, sometimes I give it to them and it helps them.
So, okay, so talk to me. You had your first pudding. That was your first thing that you put out. You tried that in Erewhon, then had this revelation, if I'm hearing you correctly, that you wanted to make it more accessible and get it in more people's hands. So you created the drink. So, okay, so talk to me about the drink and how you created that, and a little bit about that profile and sort of the response you got from people.
So I love drink powders. Like I've been using adaptogens and, moon juice, and I love electrolytes and all that stuff, but I'm often disappointed by them. I'm not going to lie. They taste fake to me and they're like hyper sweet. Like I literally cannot handle it.
I'm with you. If I have monk fruit, it's like,
thank you. Thank you.
It was too sweet.
It's way too sweet. I really believe in like pulling it back and letting, people, if they want to sweeten it on their own, to be able to do that. So we only have 1 gram of date and coconut sugar in each of the bags, and we have like less than 0.1% of stevia leaf, and we do that to kind of tie the flavors together, but it's not sweetened with an empty calorie because I think that that does something to your body. I really think trying to tell it that you're consuming sugar with a 0 calorie just like throws you off, and they say that it can cause like more gut problems. So it's called gut building hydration. We use science-backed efficacious dosage of 3 different types of FODMAP friendly prebiotic fibers, meaning like bloat friendly prebiotic fibers. And we have a kiwi lemonade electrolyte. It's made with real New Zealand organic grown green and golden kiwi fruit, and they're also a science-backed prebiotic. There's about 1.5 kiwis in one serving. And we use apple cider vinegar, bamboo extract, like just all the most high quality. We have trace minerals, 100 milligrams of magnesium glycinate. We literally wanted to make like an electrolyte for your gut. And so this is an electrolyte that you don't need to sweat for. Most electrolytes have like 1,000 milligrams of sodium. Women do not need that much sodium. Men might if you're working out.
Is the target audience women?
Target audience is women, women tend to suffer from SIBO more than men. They're saying because we take on more stress than men, and we suppress our emotions more than men.
Oh, interesting.
That's what they
You
say.
know what's really interesting about that is they always say women are so emotional, right?
I know.
You ever hear that? Women, you're so emotional. Or all these things, and they always say men are going off to the office, traditionally speaking.
Right.
We all work. I mean, not all of us, but it has flipped.
Women carry the brunt of the responsibility in their households now. Like, it's not just about work. It's about like who's taking care of the kids and the house and the laundry.
The dogs.
The dogs. Yeah. We just have a more naturally caring and nurturing nature. So we're more willing to like be the ones giving and bending over backwards, so to speak.
So it's more focused. So your audience is more women because more women.
Men really like our hot cocoa. They really do. Men who are already leaning towards health and wellness, like they love and get the brand.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try that for my partner.
Yeah. But okay, so we have a kiwi lemonade, which you love it chilled. It's really good. It's like a refreshing lemonade made with all like real fruit. And we brought in we made sure everything was European grade standard for ingredients.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because I think that's an overlooked conversation so often. I didn't mean to cut you in your tracks, but I also want to acknowledge it, that I think this is a big part of the conversation. When we talk about traveling to Europe and people say that they feel better eating so many different things versus here, that's a really big issue in conversation. And I think a lot of people don't understand that the regulations there are a lot more stringent. So by you integrating that, like that gives me so much excitement. And it also makes me feel better about the product, because I feel like here we've got so many different things that we could do that maybe aren't ideal.
Right. So, I mean, I was torn because, there's electrolyte drink powders that don't use flavors, and they just use the real fruit, and they're made with coconut powder. And to me, it doesn't taste good. And the whole goal is really to provide that taste to people. Like, you're not missing out. You're getting to be part of the conversation. So I tried all the flavors, the organic flavors here in the US, and none of them tasted good. So I thought, well, I'm going to go to Europe and see what they're offering. So we import from France, and they taste completely, it's unlike anything on the American market. It just tastes so refreshing and light and nice. And to know that it's fully organic and like that they use 10,000 less chemicals than like we use here, it's just such a reassuring thing. Like I feel the difference. And we've tested the product on, my sensitive stomach, and then literally anyone I know with like Crohn's, IBS, SIBO, anything like that. We've sent out the samples to them to make sure that no one really had like a reaction.
Wow, that's amazing. And the other, just to connect with that, I think about how agriculture is different in Europe too, and how that plays a role. Because it's not just the rules and regulations. Yes, those play a role, but also the rules and regulations as it relates to agriculture versus how it is here. So even within my own personal shopping experience, when I go shopping for food, I buy French butter. And I have the issue with the fossil fuel and like it's not local and all those different things. But at the end of the day, I want to be healthy and I want to feel good. It's not that I'm trying to kill the planet, but I want to find a balance, right? And so for me, I found when I was in Europe, because I felt so good, I wanted to adopt and eat as many European things. Even the small trace of wine that I drink, I buy European French.
Well, that's so intuitively smart of you because wine nowadays in the US, and I stopped being able to stomach wine like a couple years ago here, but the wine is just so heavily sprayed with Roundup here and glyphosate and like just it's really, really, really scary. And I've noticed that the rise of our glyphosate usage, so Roundup, for anyone who doesn't know, Monsanto's, it's basically what deciphers if a product is organic or not organic is if there's glyphosate in there. And the more that we've used glyphosate in this country, like my gut issues have definitely increased with
Risen.
glyphosate usage. And, it's still prevalent in France. They have it there, but I think there's way more independent, small, local type of people who really do adhere to like their 1,000-year-old traditions of the way they made butter and the way they produce stuff and things like that. But apparently Italy and Spain have the best like
Really?
agriculture and like no usage of glyphosate. They're the most strict about it, which is ironic because their economies are suffering. So, who
Right.
knows?
Well, it's interesting. And I think, of course, you were talking about the kiwis, right? That you were using and the organic ones. And I'm just curious, what about the ones that you're using from overseas are so much better? And what do you find the impact of using that is?
So that's such a good question. They actually did a study where they tested the nutrient density of all kiwis across the entire globe, and they're most nutrient dense when they're grown in New Zealand. So
Really?
that
Did
is,
they say why? Is it about the agriculture? Is it about
I think it's just a combination of like the geography and the way that the soil is, and I mean I think it is more native to there anyway, so it
right?
makes sense. But
Yeah.
they
Well, they are
just
kiwis, right?
they are kiwis, yeah.
No, I was kidding. I was doing,
The people.
yeah, okay, you got it.
But
um,
that was so important to me, like the traceability. Like I'm a freak. Like since I was 8, I've been taking packages and turning them over and reading the back and being like, oh, I can't eat this and putting it back. Like that's been my journey. And it comes with a balance now for me, but I know what makes me feel good and I know what doesn't make me feel good. And I avoid those ingredients now and I search for the better ones.
and I think that more and more people are looking at the back of, what they're buying. And I think you and I have been doing this. My mom trained me at a very young age to like buy apple juice without sugar in it, right? You
Yeah.
don't need to buy apple juice with sugar in it. You can buy regular apple juice and real apple juice, not the
And
stuff that's,
it's better now. It's the cloudy is so cool.
yeah,
I love it.
me too. And that's how I grew up. So I think throughout my life, I always turn around and look and I'm like, so much stuff has sugar. And I'm like, why? It doesn't need to have sugar.
Oh, but it's
It's,
crazy because the more I've been in LA the last 10 years, it's been a bubble. But the more events I do in Texas, the more I'm like, oh, I get why things have the amount of sugar that they do. It's truly like America is addicted to sugar and like our sugar standards are insane. Like when I talk to my other friends who have snack brands that are low sugar, like they also experience the same thing. They do really well in coastal towns. And then
mhm.
when it comes to like middle America, they're just like, they don't
Yeah.
get it. They can't.
Yeah. It's very different. I think there's a real education. And, part of my journey here is to be able to provide a platform so people can share information like yourselves to inspire others to make more informed changes, right? So if somebody's listening to this and if one of our listeners was tuning in right now, what would you say to them? How would you tell, yeah, about sugar and about the impact it has and what to think about that?
No foods kill more people. Like sugar is the number one killer of people out of any food we have. Number one. So first of all, more than heart like fats and everything like that we've thought it's sugar. Second of all, like we every disease is increased and inflamed with sugar. Like I quit sugar throughout my healing process and I didn't realize how addicted I was. Like we all have some level of addiction we don't even realize because we're consuming like almost 100 times the amount of sugar that we consumed when we were, back roaming with.
Totally. And I also think that if you don't look at the ingredients, you don't realize how often sugar is an ingredient. That's part of the problem. It's you got to look for the information. It's not going to be right there, but you'd be surprised at
No sugar added, and then you'll turn the back, and then they'll have the chocolate chip in there has sugar in there. And but it tastes better. And that's
and taste is king. So that's why what you're doing is so important.
well, so that's why I encourage people to have alternative routes, because when I was quitting sugar, it's like you can't just quit sugar. You need to have blueberries on deck.
I have grapes because I want something sweet after I eat dinner.
You need to set yourself up for success. You're not going to just quit this cold turkey. So I encourage anyone who wants to like lower their sugar to find natural sources. Like that's why I love the date and coconut. In ours, it's like it's an anti-inflammatory natural source, and that's your body's used to that. It's like eating a fruit, you know? Why not do that? Why not try to like cut fat? Yeah.
Totally, totally. So now that you have this product, and are you selling direct to consumer? Tell us where people can find these products.
So we wanted to start direct to consumer just to kind of we did a pilot run. We wanted to just control. It's kind of a more premium products. We want to test the market. We have this kiwi lemonade and our hot cocoa. Back to the traditional Chinese medicine, warm puts your nervous system into rest and digest. So we wanted a warm electrolyte skew. So yeah, try to sip that slowly and watch your nervous system slow down and digest better. We're available on our website. It's premefoods.com. You can also find us with this low tox online retailer called Live Healthily, and it's spelled like IE at the end. And we're about to launch on Amazon, so you'll see us there.
Congratulations, that's exciting. Wow. And so as you look forward at the next few years, what are you going to be putting out more SKUs, more things, more options? What does that look like? What are you hoping to create?
Yeah, the mission is to just provide people with like on the go, accessible nutrition that's medicinal. So we're going to do sticks next because I feel like just with our busy lifestyles, people prefer having those as much as I wanted to avoid the extra packaging. I'm in a kind of a wasteful industry, but we're gonna do sticks, and we're gonna do a new SKU variant that's also a fruity that goes with the kiwi lemonade. We're leaning into maybe like a berry flavor that we'll do, and eventually, hopefully, maybe years down the road, we want to get back into the puddings. Like that's our goal. We would love to do R&D on the pudding to make it have a longer shelf life without adding pesticides, and that requires some money. So the goal will be to provide like that at the end for our customers because everyone misses them, and I miss them too.
Yeah, no, they sound really yummy, and it sounds like a good thing for breakfast. Because for me, I like to eat protein in the morning. I don't
Yeah,
like to do dairy. I don't like to do all these different things. So, what a good alternative instead of eating a steak for breakfast or
exactly.
a
Sometimes
piece
you
of
want
chicken.
sweet, yeah, but like
Yeah,
you don't want the dairy to go with it, and you don't want an oatmeal sludge.
right, exactly. So I think that sounds amazing, especially for somebody like me that equally similar to you, while maybe not as extreme, experience some of these things. And I'm sure some of our listeners do also. So I'm curious, you made this transition from producer and selling things to Netflix to creating your product and now getting it out there. What was the one thing you did not expect to be a hurdle or an obstacle or a challenge that you came across that maybe you can share with those tuning in today, and maybe how you worked through it?
Sure. I think that buyers of stores are all very overwhelmed. We don't realize how grocery stores run. I didn't realize how much these stores run until I got into the business, and I didn't understand all the ins and outs that came with if a brand succeeds or not. I always wondered why there was so much rotation of brands, but I think creating a brand that has longevity, like 98% fail, 98% of CPG companies fail within like the first 3 years or something. So I learned a lot about the industry overall. And, I go back to the shelf life issue like that. Like, just, I have all these ideals as a founder that I want to bring into the 3D, into the material. And I'm just trying to meet it in like a compromised way at this point. There's only so much you can do with food, but it's so cool to see how the technology is increasing over time to help shelf life of products last longer without adding pesticides. Like, it's so cool to learn about all of that stuff to me. Like I taught myself essentially like food science the first 2 years. So I've been loving that aspect of the business, and the R&D aspect of developing new products is really fun to me. So yeah, just learning and seeing what customers respond to and what they like. And that's how your brand grows. It's half me, but then it's how it's received, and they help me decide what the rest will be. And it's so fun to co-create with customers in that way.
Well, I think what you just said is so important to remember, because we can come up with a million ideas and we can think they're brilliant, but what's really important is what everybody else wants, likes, and needs and thinks. And we have to be able to be open and pivot accordingly. Because as much as I might like my branding or my this or my that, if it's not resonating, it doesn't matter what I think. So I think that's a really great takeaway, is to listen to your audience, your community, and your consumers.
Yes, absolutely. As much as it hurts and as much as you want to do what you want to do.
So, you know, I'm so excited to try your product. I can't wait to share it with my partner as well. And especially for me, who has SIBO and has all these things, I can't wait to circle back with you and tell you about my experience and tell our listeners as well. But in the meantime, if those listeners that have been tuning in, whether they're listening to the podcast or watching the video cast, are interested in the product, is there a special discount we can offer them?
Of course, I would love to do that. So we'll do Essential 15, all lowercase, and that's 15% off first bag of Preme.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I can't wait to continue the conversation and see how things evolve for you and your company going forward. Keep us posted.
Yes, it's been such a great pleasure. Thank you.
And I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. For those of you tuning in to the video cast, don't forget, you can listen to us on the go on iTunes, on our podcast, or anywhere you choose to listen to your podcasts. And for those that are tuning into the podcast, don't forget, if you do want to catch the video and see us in person, we do have a YouTube that's Essential Ingredients. So we hope to see you there. Let us know what you think. Comment, like, share. The greatest gift you can give your friends, if this episode is interesting or meaningful to you and you know somebody else with gut issues or that's suffering in some way, is to share this episode. So thanks again for tuning in.